Sharpening hooks is an incredibly important skill to develop. When you buy a hook, it's a generic hook. It's not designed ever to suit all line classes. And what I mean by that is you're going to be possibly using this hook on a line class as low as 6 kg or 12 pound line, all the way up to 60 kg, 130 pound line. And it's unrealistic to assume that that point and barb will be usable on all those line classes. So most often when you buy a hook, you do have to reshape it somewhat. And the best tool to use for that is a small file. This is called a bastard cut file, and it's a second cut. That's the actual grooves or blades used to cut the metal. The smaller files are a lot easier to use than the bigger files. As the files get bigger, the blades get further apart, and they do cut off a lot more material, but they're harder to get started and they're harder to do fine adjustments on hook points. So always try and use a smaller file when you're sharpening hooks. When you buy a hook, you'll see that the barbs, especially on stainless steel trolling hooks, are really quite large. The point will be sharp, but it's probably too sharp for a lot of the line classes that you'll be using it on. When you sort of think about what the point has to do, it has to get driven in at various drag settings. For example, on 6 kg, at most it's going to be a 2 kg drag, which is there. On 37 kg, it's going to be all the way up to the top. So there's an awful lot of difference. So the points do need to be different. Good analogy is that of hammers. This is a small hammer. It's pretty much equivalent in fishing tackle to a light tackle outfit. It's only going to hit in small, fine nails successfully. And heavy tackle, you can basically have the analogy of a larger hammer, and you can see this is going to hit in a much bigger nail than the smaller hammer. So the points have to be adjusted accordingly. Now to get started, the smaller the barb, the easier that hook is going to go in. So before we sharpen the point, we're going to sharpen the barb. Now it's quite often very difficult to get started sharpening the barb. In that case, actually pull the file backwards just to get the burrs off the point of the file. It's not good for the file. It will blunt the file to a bit, but at least you can get started. And then go forward and cut it down. It's a very, very fast thing to do. A couple of strokes, and you can see that I'm holding the file quite flat to the hook. It's a lot flatter than you think. So just check your angles on using the file on the hook barb. You see that very quickly we're getting that down. Okay, we've already got that side down, now we do the other side. Once again, it's going to be hard to get started, so we do 2 or 3 strokes going back the wrong way and then get stuck into it. You can see already we've got the barb down a significant amount, about half the size that it was. Now a barb really should be as small as you can use and still psychologically use it. It's very difficult to realise that a barbless trolling hook is far better than a hook with a barb on it, but just cut that barb down as far as you can and still be happy enough to use it psychologically. Okay, the point, the finer the point, the lower the line class it's good for. Once you start getting up into heavier tackle, you really do need a much stronger point so it can get driven in without bending. A lot of people think that hooks always go into a fish, basically point up and get driven in, and they're always sitting at that angle. They're not. Quite often they're coming in at a glancing angle. They're not always going straight in. So you do need a strong point that's going to be able to take the pressures of being pulled sideways against the angle of the point. So you really do need a stronger point. It's very fast to do. Once again, the angle is quite flat, and all we're doing is just sharpening the point and shortening it just a fraction. You don't have to sharpen it much. It's just taking the tip off just to make it a bit steeper and a whole lot stronger. Okay, and that's already taken that point from a light tackle point up to a point that would be suitable for 24 kg and 8 kg drag, and we'll just shorten it up a little bit more, make it a bit steeper to be great for 37 kg. And that's all it took to come up to a 37 kg point. As you can see, that's a whole lot shorter, and you can see that that point's going to be a lot stronger, and that barb's going to go in a lot easier than it will on that hook. Okay, just to check things, just get yourself a piece of cardboard. First of all, try a hook you haven't sharpened with a full-size barb, put it through the cardboard, and you'll see that it goes into the barb quite easily. And then trying to get the barb through even cardboard, let's see how many kgs it actually takes to get a barb through. We'll just use this set of scales. Okay, let's pull it through. And we got that through at 3.5 kgs just through this cardboard. That's the hook with all the barb on it. Here's the hook we just sharpened. We'll try that, get it down through the point. As you can see, it actually slid in a lot easier than even the hook out of the box. Down to the barb. As you can see, the barb sitting there. And we'll pull it through. Okay, and that took 2 kilos, 2.5. And here's a hook I actually prepared earlier. Just has got almost no barb on it. Let's see how much difference that is. Now, certainly a fish's jaw is much tougher than this, but the percentages are pretty much there. Okay, with a very small barb, you can see, once again, it's even easier. The smaller the barb, the easier it is to penetrate with the hooks. So do cut them down. Here we've got basically the 3 setups. We've got a fine point with a standard barb on it. It's not very good. Might be great to sink the point on light tackle, but you're not going to get the barb through. Here we've got the hook I sharpened earlier. It's got a point designed for around about 37 kg or 12 kg drag, nice and strong. It's got a smaller barb for easier penetration. And the top hook that I did earlier has got a much finer point, tiny barb, and that will be great on 15 kg with a 5 kg drag.